Hi, this is Jackie's Reading Room, and I'm your host, Jackie P. Have you turned some pages today? These celebrities. They are everywhere. From Prince Harry to Bono or Michelle Obama, there's always something going on with famous people, and let's face it, we often want to know about it. But what about books written by celebrities? One could argue that not everyone can write equally well, and that is true. And it's not because you are well known as an actor, an athlete, a musician, etc., that you're necessarily a born writer. That is true as well. So today's debate is to read or not to read celebrity memoirs. Well, I believe the short answer is it depends. I know that maybe that's not the answer that you wanted to hear. But what does it depend on? It depends on who wrote the memoir, on the tone and the language used in the book, and on the topic. If you are someone who loves sports and you read a memoir written by your favorite athlete, or maybe an athlete who retired and they talk about their career, for sure it's going to interest you because it's what you like. But maybe for someone else, it's not going to be anything interesting to them. So when I say it depends on a lot of things. In episode 2, hey, that was about 6 months ago, I talked about memoirs, and I mentioned Michael J. Fox and his three books, right? 2 of which I read and enjoyed. I started the 3rd one. He also has another little tiny book for graduates. But one thing that you have to know, and maybe you do know this, that I grew up in the 1980s, early 1990s, and I had a huge Michael J. Fox phase. Back to the Future, anyone? Name all the films. Family Ties. I was such a fan of Family Ties. So I've loved Michael as an actor, and as a Parkinson's research advocate, and as just a general cool human being for a long time. So reading his books makes me feel like I got to know more of him on a personal and professional level. It's his own voice, right? And the other thing too is I learned a lot about his movies and his TV shows. Yeah, some behind the scenes information that, or gossip, I guess we could even say. I love that. And I also learned about his struggles and his successes. So to me, that's like super interesting. So for me, it's totally fine and even interesting to read celebrity memoirs. It makes you realize that on a I would say on a basic level, famous people are just like the rest of us. They have ups and downs. I'm sure they wake up some mornings and they don't necessarily want to go to work. I mean, I'm sure it happens to them. They have successes, but struggles, heartbreaks, issues with, it could be anything, right? It could be issues in their relationships, issues with drugs, or etc. If they're athletes, with their, health, no matter what they do, I guess it could be related to health as well. Possibly they have more money than us, right? But bottom line, though, they are human beings, just like us. So I think that when I read a celebrity memoir, I choose my celebrity. One book I read and loved is a book called Nothing is Impossible by Christopher Reeve. Now, you may remember Christopher Reeve from the iconic role that he played in the 70s and 80s films of Superman. He was Superman, right? So this book, Nothing is Impossible, was published 20 years ago in 2002. I can't believe it was so long ago. You should see, I have the copy of the book here, and it's in perfect condition. This book followed me. It's traveled. It's moved many times with me. Still totally fine. So the book was written 2 years before Mr. Reeve died. He died in 2004. Now, the book is divided into sections like parenting, faith. Let me see. There's another one on, let me check here, mind, body, humor. And it's really interesting because it's his take on all these major life themes, right? And I read this book quite a while ago. Let's say I read it when it came out, right, in 2002. Well, it's been 20 years. But there's a reason why I've kept it all these years, because it brings me joy. For those of you who've read Marie Kondo, right? Okay, does this item bring me joy? So yes, this book does. It's one of those feel-good books. I mean, Christopher Reeve was at the end of his life, well, for quite a few years before he died, he was paraplegic, and his life completely changed. And so, reading a book like that, well, so I had no idea. I have no idea what it means to be disabled. So it gives me an idea of what it means. And there's a lot of hope as well in general. I really enjoy personally books that give me hope. I'm sure I'm not the only one out there. So celebrity memoirs can be very interesting. Once again, depends on the celebrity, depends on the topic. One celebrity memoir that is on my TBR pile, you do know that my TBR pile is very long. But on the pretty much top of my list is the book called We Were Dreamers by actor Simu Liu. You may know him from his role in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. He was also, so he is quite a well-known actor. And he talks about his life as an immigrant. So the subtitle to the book is An Immigrant Superhero Origin Story. I always love those stories. My husband is from Brazil, and I have immense admiration and respect for people who actually leave their country and start anew in another place entirely. So I'm looking forward to reading that. It's not too long, and it looks like it might even be funny, and of course there would be some behind the scenes on his life as an actor, which I think that would be interesting. And another one that was written a few years ago is Open by Andre Agassi, the famous tennis player. Now, this book is found on a web page that I will put in the chat for this episode. That's called 35 Celebrity Memoirs that are actually worth reading. Sorry, that are actually worth reading. And in that list, I found quite a few that I absolutely agreed with. Others I did not know. And Open by Andre Agassi, what I learned is it looks like in this book, he shares the fact that he never really enjoyed playing tennis. Imagine, I can't imagine that, like being so good at a sport that you don't like. So I'm totally intrigued by this. And I don't consider myself an athlete per se. So for me to read about athletes, I always find it impressive, because I will never be somebody who trains, 40 hours a week for years and wins a gold medal. I succeed in other areas of of my life, and I do. I will work out, but to read about people who have reached that level of their sport, I'm always impressed, and I really admire that. So in the list, you'll see there's quite a few there, and I would like to even add, you may have seen it being posted. Prince Harry has a new memoir coming up called Spare. I believe it's coming up soon here in Canada, and this means early 2023, right? So look into it. Why not? I always send you to your local bookstore or your local library. Get that library card and check it out. Are there some famous people that you admire that you say, huh, maybe I would like to read about that. I just saw Bono came up with a new book, and I believe it's something like 40, I forget the title, but 40 years or in 40 or 40 songs. So he will take some of the songs by his band U2 and talk about how the song came to be. I think that would be a super interesting book to read. So you have to go with what you like, obviously, and perhaps celebrities that you know. But clearly, there is an interest if you look at the bookshelves in bookstores and libraries. There are quite a few celebrities out there. They're not all equally good, but I would say that if you go with something that you like, I'm sure it could be super interesting. So hope you enjoyed. I will see you next week. Until then, don't forget to turn some pages.